Hello folks, it is Friday. Welcome to the end of your week. I have some news. Thank you so much to all of you who helped us get here. This is kind of amazing. We are now on 15,007 subscribers. That is amazing. Thank you so much. That was when I started the year, I wanted 15. You know, I was pushing for 15 all the way through the year, and we got there in the end. That's amazing stuff. Absolutely amazing. So for any of you who have subscribed, then thank you so much for helping me get to this goal. It's amazing of you. Thank you. And I'm thinking, you know, why stop here? Maybe 20,000 should be the target for maybe June of next year. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. But 20,000 is now my target going forwards. And I've always said I'll be more than happy around 30. If I can get to around 30, then I think I've hit where I want to be in terms of a creator on what I want to do with the channel. So, if you like what I do, subscribe. If you're new around here, subscribe. And if you think my content will be beneficial to people out there, then maybe give my content to them and see if they want to subscribe. You can see since I started asking around the start of October, we've had a sharp increase. So I never used to ask. I never used to be that guy. But since I have done, it's gone well. So I guess I'll just continue, and hopefully we can grow the channel together and get even bigger. Let's see how we go. That's what she said. So, moving on. Composite games. Please make sure, if you're getting any models towards the Christmas period, make sure you go to Composite Games and use the promo code Northern Exile down below to get yourself 5% off your order at checkout. Let's do some Hobby Nightmares, shall we? It is Friday. It is Friday. That's the law. We do Hobby Nightmares. Chris says, Hi, North. I've been inspired by two giants into writing in again. Okay. You and the constant stream of Hobby Nightmares that made me think of this, and perhaps the greatest hip-hop artist of all time, the Notorious B.I.G. That's the first time that I've been lumped in with that guy. I'll tell you what. I bet you didn't see that coming today. You know, Northern Exile and Biggie Smalls. We could have done an amazing album together. It's a slightly tongue-in-cheek list, but I think if anyone thinking about going to games night for the first time, it may be handy for some. It may be a mirror to others, but to most, I think it'll be mostly just funny to hear. So here we go. A hobby nightmare. There's not quite a hobby nightmare, but more of a list of all the bad things that go on in the hobby. The 10 plastic crack commandments, according to Guy Incognito. The name I comment on YouTube with. Okay, cool. Awesome. So these are 10 commandments that he has written in. Now, these are all based on things that have happened in previous Hobby Nightmares. So, you know, bear with me. It's not technically a Hobby Nightmare, because the second Hobby Nightmare we have today is so long and interesting that I wanted to do something different for the first submission here. So, the 10 Commandments, according to Chris, according to Guy Incognito, which is kind of ironic, because he's not told me to use his other name, or to use... That's me, by the way, so don't worry about that. And my WhatsApp going off. It's kind of ironic that he's called Guy Incognito when he's not told me to use, you know, a secret name for him, but it is what it is. The 10 Commandments of the Hobby. Number 1. Thou shalt not stink. You live in the 21st century. Hot running water is not a luxury if you can spend £37 on 5 plastic soldiers. Have a shower, and, if like me, you sweat a lot, bring a can of Lynx. Nobody needs to smell your BO. Commandment number 2. Thou shalt not touch thy neighbour's stuff. You didn't spend hours building and painting it, keep your sticky mitts off of his stuff. Commandment number 3. Thou shalt not criticise thy neighbour's army list. You didn't spend the money on it, you didn't buy or build or paint them. If your opponent wants to have 1,000 points of Gretchens, they can. Okay, yeah, it's fair enough. Commandment number 4. Thou shalt not criticize thy neighbour's painting. Do you have a Slayer sword? No? Fuck you then. Off you go. I like that one. I like that one. That's all you say. Literally, that is the greatest comeback ever. If anybody ever critiques your painting in a way that's kind of dickish, say, excuse me, mate, can I see your Slayer sword? Do you have it on you? Do you have the Slayer sword on you? Have you won Golden Demon before? No? Then fuck off. And go back to what you're doing. Number 5. Thou shalt not throw temper tantrums. It's a game with a large amount of chance. The dice aren't ganging up on you, and you look like a bit of a tit. Number 6. Thou shalt not overshare. Cringe Elfia's girl, this is for you. Yes, your life has sucked. Yes, only a monster wouldn't feel sympathy for your plight. But god damn it, we're here to play plastic toy soldiers, not plastic psychiatrists. Leave your baggage at the door. Absolutely none of the strangers in the store want to hear it. Okay, this is kind of one that... Yeah, I agree. I do agree. You know, people just want to enjoy the hobby, leave them to it. But there are some people out there who actually need help. I'd say, if you find a hobby friend who's really good at helping you like, see the wood for the trees, then make sure you confide in them and tell them what's going on. But, as Chris says here, if you're just going into the hobby store and bringing everybody's mood down by telling them how terrible your life is, yeah, maybe don't do that. Number 7. Thou shalt not cheat. Seriously, F you. Yeah, I get that. No problem. Number 8. Thou shalt not be abusive. At this point in the email, I feel like a lot of this is common sense, but after listening to Hobby Nightmares week after week, it is obvious there are people lacking out there. If you feel the need to lob insults around without reprisal, log back into your Fortnite lobby because real-life humans will fight you and obviously aren't for you. Number 9. Thou shalt not creep. Boys and girls, they do not like you. They do not fancy you. They will not go home with you. They are here to war game, so please, lay off the sleazy behaviour. I agree. I do agree. The sleazy behaviour should stop. But, you know, if you see someone that you like at the hobby store, you are there to do, you know, to do a hobby. So make sure that you're having fun. And if that person is reciprocating your flirtatious behaviour or is having fun with you in that way, then, you know, feel free to just carry on. You don't need to, like, be celibate. I think what he's saying here is, you know, if someone's literally there and hasn't given you an iota of interest that way whatsoever, even after you've, like, after you've made, like, a... I don't know, you know, after you've made, like, a few comments here and there, you know, like, if you've gone in there and said, hey, you know, I don't know what a flirty comment would be off the top of my head, but you know what I mean? Like you go in there, you make it like a flirty comment that's under the radar, and she's not reciprocating, or he is not reciprocating at all. Back away. Don't physically back away, just go, okay, compartmentalize that in your brain, put it away, and become a hobbyist again, and paint, right? And have fun. You know, treat people like normal people. I know, it's weird, but it happens. Number 10. Thou shalt enjoy thyself. It's fun, it's awesome, it's safe, and it's an amazing hobby. Treat it as such, and you'll not find a better place to be in, because although we all look different, we're all nerds at heart, and that is brilliant. Keep up the good work. I'm a big fan of the channel. All the best, Chris. Thank you, mate. That was an awesome start to the video. I quite like that. I quite like people... It shows people I've read or seen the videos, and I've gone, you know what? Actually, I'm going to put all these into a compartmentalized piece that I can then put on YouTube for him to read out. That's really, really cool. That you basically took all of the lessons that we've had in different Hobby Nightmares over the years and have put them into one big list. I know we're going to get more as the years go on. That's just how it goes. We're going to be finding more and more and more behaviours that maybe we shouldn't be doing, and maybe we should, you know, be not eradicating completely from the hobby, but making sure that, you know, we're good actors here. That's what we're trying to make sure that we're doing. Let's get into an actual Hobby Nightmare, shall we? I mean, that was a Hobby Nightmare, but you know what I mean. NP says, Dearest and sweetest Northern Exile, Your impassioned pleading and seductive begging has convinced me to give you my hot, juicy story. Jesus Christ. Is this Valrak? I'm hoping you are slightly uncomfortable because both these incidents were doubly so for me. Our horrors begin on a hot 4th of July tournament at the friendly local game shop. My world eaters are ready to celebrate freedom from the Imperium of Man and the taxation of that nasty hot dirt water. Tea. Dude, you're not making me like you right now. You know, if you want me to come down on your side in this hobby nightmare, this is not a good start. Walking through the doors, I feel the AC, the air conditioner, isn't on. Just a few fans. Immediately, I catch a smell, like a dirty locker room. Okay, this guy is not following one of the 10 commandments, whoever it is. I figured it was a hot day, so I applied vapor rub, a minty smelling ointment, under my nose, and carried on. This guy comes prepared. Now, I'm from a much colder climate than where I lived at the time, so I sweat quite badly even in moderate heat. I'm not overweight, I just sweat heavily in the heat, so I've already covered myself in deodorant and baby powder. I asked why the AC was off and got a lame excuse about how expensive it is to run for the shop. I offered to pay, and luckily a few guys heard the conversation and almost everybody chipped in to help, the legends. Well, the tournament started and the game room was packed tight. The tables and players were pretty much stacked to fit everyone. I won my first game. The gentleman I played was running a list of pure infantry guards for the memes. On to the second round, and I'm now fighting Grey Knights, obviously fighting a man of culture. But the guy next, playing his opponent behind me, was a pot-bellied guy doing his best to hit every bad nerd stereotype. Wearing socks and sandals, a band t-shirt, hoodie, sweats, and a tilted fedora, and he is letting off a smell that he has quite literally has me gagging at my table. His clothes were clearly dirty from sweat and mould. The pale stains on his sweats indicate his relationship status. Oh no! Don't slip that in there. Oh. Oh. Don't just put that in there. That went right under the radar. It like snuck into my brain and went, those are cum stains. And I went, oh, my fucking... Stop, dude. Why do people do this? Why? Not the writer, but like the guy in the fucking story. Why would you do this? Unless there's something physically wrong. Like mentally, there's something going on there where you're struggling. That I get. But then it's on the people around you to look after you. Why are they letting you leave the house looking and smelling like this? That's abuse. That's what it is. If you're looking after a person with like a mental disability or a physical disability and you let them leave the house like this because you don't give a fuck about them, that's abuse. That's horrible. And if there's nothing wrong with this guy, there's nothing going on, fuck me, dude. Jesus Christ. Oh. His socks are yellow, closer to orange or brown. His hair is greasy enough to leave stains on the hoodie. Oh, God. Oh. Oh, no. You know what I'm like with grease. You know what I'm like with grease. I need to skip some of this. You know what I'm like with grease. I'm literally gagging. No. No. Not. Oh. I've not been this sickened out in a while. To describe the smell of mould, sweat, unwashed VO, athlete's foot, with a hint of unwiped backside. Now I'm doing my best not to be rude. Oh, are you? Okay. But this was a degree of disgust I could not deal with civilly or calmly. I knew these events generally require a certain level of hygiene, so I speak to the event coordinator, and this useless sack of Magnus just asked the guy if he showered. And what does he say? I knew as soon as I heard the question, of course he had showered right before he came here. The coordinator, being the spineless jellyfish he was, just repeated it to me and said, well, play on then. So I try my best to keep my distance and play, but of course he knows I complained, so he starts being passive-aggressive. Doing things like breathing on my neck with his egg and sour milk breath. He squeezes past me to get drinks and snacks every few minutes. Myself and my opponent step outside to smoke, and I do my best to calm down and distract myself. Oh my god. The fact that he's behind you as well, you just can't get away. When I take my position again, the nurgling makes a sour face at me and pushes past me and complains to the coordinator that I now reek of cigarettes. Oh, this is brilliant. He's turned the tables. Oh, this is great. This is great. I like this guy. I don't know why. He smells, but I like him. He's like, and I will raise you. I will raise you one cigarette smell. My opponent offers me a mint before the coordinator can say a word. Now, I'm not proud of myself, but I'm not about to be bullied by this particular quality of a person. But when he turned and farted on me, I... This guy's not real. Now, if this happened, I'm going to eat my mug. I'm not going to do it, I like my mug. But, like, you know what I mean? Surely not. Yeah, but when this guy farted on me, I lost my calm and shoved him hard. Now, I'm not proud. I'm 6'6", 250 pounds, and clearly able to overpower someone weaker, but I just saw red. He bounced off the heavy wood table and fell down. And I was about to kick him when cop man Mr. T bodied me and pulled me outside. You're about to kick him when he's down? What the hell's wrong with you? Like, I just had this, like, that went from being, like, a really funny image to being, like, horrible. It seems like really fat dudes, like, bounce off a table and go, oh, and fall sideways onto the floor. That was funny. Kicking somebody when they're on the floor, that's not cool. That's not cool. You could do serious damage to somebody doing that. Okay? You know, it's not good at all. That's coward behaviour. Kicking somebody when they're on the floor, nah, man. Hit them once, they fall down, and if they get back up again and want to go again, you hit them again. You don't hit them on, and then when they're on the floor, start laying into them with kicks. That'd be a little coward. At this point, I'm full body screaming and shaking with rage. Jesus, dude. Calling this guy every nasty word I can think of. Well, he called the cops, and I expected to be arrested. But I was informed that apparently there is something called assault and battery by bodily fluid and function. And in the eyes of the law, I had defended myself. Oh, no! Oh, no, that's not a thing, surely. I'm looking this up, man. I can't. Right, I'm looking this up on my incognito browser, by the way. I'm not going to just be... I thought my missus using my computer and going, why were you looking up bodily odour? I'm going, assault and battery by smell. Can you be arrested because of how you smell? Oh my god, it is a thing! Police need what's called probable cause in order to arrest somebody or search their property. A probable cause basically means a reasonable, articulable suspicion that a crime has been or is about to be committed. So, this is Chicago, by the way. So Chicago police can't just arrest people or search belongings based on a mere hunch or feeling. They need something more to support their actions. So, if you smell rather bad and you're in a public place, they can consider that. Wow, probable cause. Okay. So they can't arrest the guy, but they can consider it probable cause. That basically means that if they think that you smell because you're like a crack addict or something, and you're on the street, they can consider that probable cause to search you. Or even arrest you if you're in the wrong area. Wow, okay. I didn't know that. Alright. Okay. You defended yourself from a smell. The way they worded that. And in the eyes of the law, I had defended myself. After everything, I had brought some spray-on deodorant and it sits on a labelled pedestal in the game room. It has been used multiple times over the years, but I'm sadly, but understandably, no longer welcome at events after this, so I've never seen it used. Okay, well, you know, I can't really blame them, but yeah. When I went to a hobby store last weekend to play a game with a friend of mine, there was also a stand in the bathroom that had deodorant on it, which a few people there were not using. I'm just going to come up and say that. The other story starts with a Discord profile with a furry on it asking for a casual 2,000 point game. Yeah, my red flag's already going off. It wasn't on my Discord, was it? Now, I have furry friends, and I understand not everybody in that community is necessarily like this, but they are there. He shows up looking or trying to look like his cartoon Discord image, OG, original character. He's wearing these giant blue wolf paw boots, normal jeans, a tank top, and a blue wolf head, and trade the muscles from the cartoon with fat. This makes me feel quite awkward and uncomfortable, but I try to stay open-minded to the short, portly wolf man and get on with my game. I was able to... Sorry, this guy's writing style's too deadpan and funny. I think he gets my sense of humour too much. It just cracks me up. I was able to get him to take off the mask by pretending I couldn't understand him with it on, so once he was across the table, I might be able to pretend he was one of the guys. But no, even after the mask came off, he kept panting like a dog, kept his arms up like paws, and scratching his ears like one. He even sniffed my models like a dog. At one point, he squatted down next to me and nuzzled my leg. Dude, this is getting... uncomfortable would be an understatement. But this weird autopilot kicked in that made me think if I just act normal and ignore it, he would stop. He didn't. Unpacking his models, he licked several as war comrades, and we started deployments. He told me about why he sets up these squads the way he does. How these squad mates sleep, eat, and train together. Keep in mind, I haven't really said anything to him at this point. I only said that I was the guy from the Discord and hello. Well, to be fair, you know, if a guy like this is talking to me and he's just like a normal dude, and he just... well, not normal dude, but if he's a furry, he's a bit mental, but he's also like, you know, not that bad of a guy, then it wouldn't bother me that much, you know. If he just talks about his... I'd rather you talk about your lore than how you lick your own balls. I'd much rather that. Talk about the lore of your army, you know, and don't lick your own balls. I think that would be a, you know, a good middle ground to reach. Things I thought I'd never say. He says something along the lines of, "Did you know that the members of a pack have sex with each other to forge a deeper bond?" Now, I know where this is going. Now, I've read a lot of lore, and I can say with certainty, no, they do not. Now, I had heard the furry stereotype about space wolves. I felt it was on the same level as most army meme jokes, stupid and baseless. It mostly is. I will defend space wolves here. It mostly is. I don't really get the furry thing with space wolves. I get the obnoxious thing, I see it happen. I get the bully thing, I see it happen, right? Multiple times, but I don't get the furry thing. I've never seen a space wolf player be an actual furry, you know what I mean? Or be into wolves in a bit too far of a way. I think that's more of a, you know, a all the well shag sheep sort of a thing. You know what I mean? It's not true. Just everybody likes to say it because it's funny. So yeah, I will stand up for space wolves on that one. And not all space wolves are the first two either. You know, obnoxious and bullies. 99% of them aren't. It's just the 1% who are generally very loud, you know, bro types. Bro. You know, that kind of, yeah, they're very, yeah, doesn't matter. All the 30k books on the Space Wolves focus far more on the Viking/Norse warriors and raiders. Ruckus men singing in mead halls and telling stories. The wolf thing seemed to be flavouring in 30k. A unique spin on Viking culture, I guess, but in 40k, the codex, every third word of everything is wolf this or that. So I began to grieve for the end of badass space Vikings for the wolf-obsessed descendants. But brother, did this guy ramble about every model and backstory. Trying to move along, we started playing and it was not fun. He would speak to each model as he moved them, swearing oaths and making promises of love if something were to happen. Upon first contact in Melee, I had wiped out most of his squad, and without warning, he threw his head up and screamed at the ceiling and screamed in character that he will avenge his fallen brothers and lover. He then proceeded to howl. At this point, I had to leave. I picked up my army and left. I could tell he was there by his speech and things, but God saved me. I couldn't handle it anymore, and any more unaware analogues or monologues and sexual talk in a hobby store. The cringe was at max, and I wanted to implode. Cheers, dude. Either you are really good at exaggeration, right, or you've come across two of the most ridiculous people I've ever heard in a hobby nightmare. And it's happened to one person. Now, the only reason why I'm going with you and saying it's plausible is, number one, again, I've worked in hobby stores. I know we do attract the broken and mental at some stage. And I had to deal with one of these people every single week. Mainly because I was in the hobby store every day of every single week. So at least one of these people would come in, and I'd have to deal with them every single week. And it was a new one each time. Like, it didn't have to be, like, the same guy. It could be a new one each time. And, yeah. So I can kind of see, if you've been in the hobby long enough, you could come across people like this. That one right there, that one I'm calling bullshit on. That Space Wolf one, I'm calling bullshit. I just can't, man. I can't. It's too mental. No one's this fucking weird. And I know there's going to be people in the comments who go, actually, that's happened to me too. If I see at least 3 comments like this on this video, I will accept your story as being true, alright? But, like, dude, that's way above the board. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully we won't get any more sexual talk today. Spunk Bubble says... I give up. I give up. Oh, no, I'm just going to take some tea here. Alright. God damn it, guys. Why do you do this to me? Spunk Bubble says, "Hi, North. You can call me Spunk Bubbles. Thanks. Cheers, mate. Thank you. Really made my Friday, that. Before we start, I'll explain where Spunk Bubbles came from. Can you not? Can you not? Can we just not do this? You may choose not to read this paragraph out if you want to. I can't leave people on the lurch, man. I'm going to have to read it out. When I was about 19, I was a barman who was pretty good with the ladies. I don't like where this is going. A new girl started. She was 18 and just shy of 6 foot tall. Slim, ample curves, long, silky dark brown hair, and thick-rimmed glasses. She played into the whole saucy secretary look and could have easily worked a Bayonetta cosplay. Wow. Alright, you have my attention. We hit it off. She was immature and admittedly misogynistic. No, sorry. We hit it off. Immature and admittedly misogynistic male banter led to debating whether she spits or swallows. Oh no. I feel dirty even saying that. After about a week of courting, I found out firsthand that she blew bubbles. What is it with today? Why have they all come in together? We dated for a few months before student life took us our separate ways. She's one of those exes that is firmly in the memory bank for all the right reasons. At least you admit it, man. We all do it. We all do it. But also where the relationship ran its full and natural course. Good times. Well, I hope you're not like that anymore. And like, you know, I don't know. That's something I've never done. I will say. Like, I've never actually gone with the lads and been like, oh yeah, do you reckon she does this or that? It's always like, I don't want to be that guy who's like white knighting, but it's always been like kind of weak ass behaviour to me. Do you know what I mean? I would much rather just talk to the girl and find out myself, you know, rather than speculating with a bunch of other dudes who aren't getting laid. I just, you know, but anyway, you were 19 though, 18, 19, so, you know, obviously, we're all dickheads at that age. Anybody under the age of 21 is a dickhead. Sorry, if you're listening to this right now, don't worry, you'll grow out of it, right? But you're a dickhead. Right now, you're a knob, you're a dickhead. I don't care whether you're a male, female, or whatever, somewhere in between, you're a knob. You're an absolute knob. If you're below 21, that's who you are. I don't care how successful you are, I don't care how mature you are, you're a knob. You don't know who you are yet, you're not behaving like an actual adult yet, and even if you think you are, there are actual adults in the room who are rolling their eyes whenever you talk, right? You're a knob. I love you, you're going to get better, you're going to grow up, you're going to be a real cool person in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. Eventually you'll get there, but as a rule, below 21, dickhead. Alright? Cool. Again, that's not an insult. We were all there. I was a dickhead. I only outgrew the last vestiges of my dickheaddom in, like, my late 20s. Like, the last vestiges of the dickhead that I was left in, like, my late 20s. It takes that long. That took that long for me. It doesn't take that long for everybody, right? But at that age, it just is what it is, man. Alright? Okay, cool. Where were we again? Oh yeah, hobby nightmares. And not to arouse your audience. I do that every time. I didn't even, you know. Anyway. I'll try to keep this to the point, while also giving the necessary context, as it may be that I may be a bit of a hobby nightmare too. This nightmare is centered around Magic the Gathering rather than Warhammer. I have a core group of 2 other best friends. Let's call them Jim and Tim. Pre-COVID, our evenings together would be surrounded by alcohol and girls, of course. We were each other's wingmen, therapists, support group, cheerleaders, and moral compass. We can come back to each other for a pat on the back or an honest, mate, you're being a twat, reality check, and everything in between. Yeah, I've had friends like that. Still got friends like that. Yeah, good stuff. During the COVID lockdown, we resorted to online games and voice chat to keep in touch around work patterns. We even started streaming on Twitch and gained a bit of a following with our ramblings, amateur gameplay, geekiness, and generally setting the world to rights. The most popular stream involved drunkenly playing an online space combat game that turned into a science debate about and physics lesson regarding the speed of light, Star Trek transporters, and warp speed. COVID lockdowns ended, and we quickly returned to old habits. However, it wasn't the same. Getting drunk and chatting up girls, Jim is single, wasn't scratching the itch anymore, and it came to a point where we started regretting it the next day. Never mind the bar bills, as we can all hold our drink. We all agreed that we'd prefer to go to a coffee shop, get a flat white and a slice of carrot cake and talk now. We don't need to chat up girls to prove our self-worth. We don't need alcohol to meet up and have a good time. You've grown up, man. You've grown up. I mean, I still love a pint, you know, and you know, if a friend of mine needs a wingman, I don't care whether I'm single or not. It's one of my things when I get into a relationship is that my friends, if they're single, I will help them out. I'll be out with them. If I am out with them, I'll introduce them to girls if I see them, and then I will back away and let them get on with it, right? That kind of a thing. Generally, I don't go out without my partner anyway. It's just not something that I do. It's not something I subscribe to, right? So I warn them first. I go, no, look, I will, if I see a woman that I think my friend will like, I will approach them, I will bring them over, and I'll get them talking, you know? I'm not trying to chat them up. It's nothing against you. You can even come with me if you want. No problem. And do you know what? The long-lasting relationships that I've had, and the one I'm in now, the girl does come with me. She's like, oh, that sounds like fun. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go talk. Let's go talk to them and get them over. Try and get these two together. That's the kind of thing, right, that I do. So I get what you mean. But even me being mature now, it's still something I like to do to keep them the social skills sharp. They're like muscles. You've got to exercise them all the time. You know, speaking around a coffee shop's great. But I think going out and actually talking to new people is also a really good way to exercise your social muscles, and you can do that as an adult. Once a month is fine. I'm a once a month kind of guy for going out, right? I will go out once a month, and I'll go out and have a few drinks with friends and have fun, and then go home, and I'll be fine for the next month. Conscious that we do tend to be activity driven, I suggested a board game or tabletop nights. I started researching potentials, from Dungeons and Dragons to Warhammer, from Cluedo to Rumacube. I stumbled upon Magic the Gathering, having never experienced a trading card game, and appreciating that it was a huge adult audience. I was interested. I started down the path, irrespective of Jim and Tim's buy-in. I liked the sound of meeting new people in local game shops, collecting cards, brewing decks, and making it into a hobby. Jim and Tim soon followed. Good stuff so far. Magic the Gathering is a complicated game, and I took it as a personal mission to learn the rules and interactions so I can ensure that I was playing correctly and help Jim and Tim to pick up the rules too. Magic the Gathering is a game where knowing the complexities of the stack greatly improves players' skill. Since I've started attending a local game store, my personal character and game knowledge has gained enough respect from experienced players that, whilst I am not official/accredited as a judge, and I am still considered a new player, I've run and judged events for those experienced players. Okay, cool. This is part of my downfall. In games with Jim and Tim, I'd be the de jure judge. I was the Magic the Gathering knowledge base as far as they were concerned, not only for rules and interactions, but also for tactics. For instance, awareness of pros and cons from taking a game action along with potential responses from the opponent. Because of this, I have always been very giving with takebacks, quote unquote, undoing a game action so that the player can reverse their decision. If the take-back was within the same phase of a turn. In return, I didn't expect any take-backs and didn't ask for any. This is due to being, without blowing my own trumpet, a more skilled player and wanting to play to the standard expected level in a local game store. By this, I mean not necessarily playing to tournament standard, but a high enough standard so that everybody playing in a casual event feels like they had a fair and honest game, win or lose, with some good conversation when they play with me. Mate, you need to do Warhammer 40k. You need to come over to Warhammer. We need more players like that. I didn't expect take-backs to blow up the way that they did. Time to introduce Jim and Tim. Jim is a very competitive and quite aggressive during games. Finger pointing in faces, slamming cards down, flicking cards off tables, constantly complaining about misplays or scenarios going against him, etc. This isn't to be mistaken as Jim being an aggressive person overall. It just tends to be in games. Any game. Tim is very chilled. Win or lose, he is calm, collected, and wouldn't say boo to a goose. He is also very confrontation averse. Tim is that person who is just happy to be out of the house there and playing games with you. You might see where this is going. During a past game night with Jim, Mr. Aggressive, and Tim, Mr. Passive, I was playing against Jim, one-on-one. I won't go into the mechanics of the game too much for the benefit of those who don't play Magic the Gathering. Jim plays through his turn and asks for 2 takebacks, which I allowed. One was a misplay and the second was strategic, rather than an error. Jim declared attackers, and in me... Sorry, I had to skip a page there. Jim declared attackers, and in me checking that he was happy, we moved through the rest of the combat phase. After the combat phase, Jim realised that he didn't attack with a creature and expressed frustration as to why I didn't point it out. In Magic the Gathering, creatures that attack on your turn can't block on your opponent's next turn. Most of the time, anyway. I explained that there was no reason for me to question not attacking with that creature, as it means that he has a blocker up for my turn. And I did check that he was happy with his attack declaration before moving on at the time. Jim was not happy at all, and muttered that I was being deceitful. I am always taking takebacks and don't allow any takebacks. This is where I may have made a mistake. I said, dude, I don't think you're being fair saying that. No, I think you're being completely fair. As in, he's being unfair. I think you're being alright. That's fine. That's a completely respectful way to bring up a issue with your fellow player, especially if he's your friend. You say, dude, I don't think you're being fair saying that. That's a completely fair thing to say. Completely fine. Absolutely fine. For the next 10 minutes, me and Jim were subjected to an onslaught of verbal abuse and accusations. We were reprimanded for our alleged constant cheating, being two-faced, manipulative, and overly aggressive play. Tim, avoiding confrontation, kept his head down. Knowing Jim, and seeing that he was clearly seeing red, I chose to try and de-escalate the situation by letting him vent and avoid arguing with him, as I was sure that the situation would escalate into something physical otherwise. I waited for my moment, just like I would be when playing a controlled deckhand, and took the chance to knock him out of my house when it came. Tim and I were a bit shell-shocked. Yeah. Tim stayed for another 15 minutes before leaving, and while he was clearly confused as to what had happened, he wanted to make sure that I was okay, and apologised for being a rabbit in the headlights. After Tim left, I realised that Jim's shouting, effing and jeffing had woken up my wife and children. Yeah, dude, that's when I would lose my shit. That was when I would lose it. Yes, I'm married, and talk to other women when I go out. Ha! My wife is fine with any female attention that I get when I go out. She trusts that I won't cross the line that we have agreed, and I haven't to this day. She likes that I'm desirable. That's fine. That's great. That's great. I wouldn't personally do it, but the only reason I wouldn't do it is because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Do you know what I mean? So I set a standard where I say, look, if you're with me, right, and you want to go out with the girls, quote unquote, that's not on. Because the girls are going out to pull, because they're single. You're not single anymore. So why can't you do something else with the girls, apart from going out and trying to get laid? Why can't you do something else? And it's the same with me. If I go out with a bunch of men, I mean, even this guy's saying, look, when I go out, I get female attention. You know, and I could get laid. So I'm putting myself in a situation where I could get laid. My wife doesn't mind because she's a diamond. And she's a diamond, mate. Good. Good. And that's the perfect scenario, is your wife doesn't mind that you go out. I can't... You're not being a hypocrite because you don't have the same standard as me, but I can't be hypocritical. Do you know what I mean? So, if I have that standard, I also hold myself to that standard. And if I go out, 9 times out of 10, it's with the missus in tow. If she's not there, then I make sure that we don't go to any clubs, and we go to pubs where we're going to have a nice time, but I'm not going to be put in any sort of weird situations that I don't want to be in, because I'm not single, right? It's just respect for me, at the end of the day. It's just showing respect for your partner, and showing respect to the fact that you're in a relationship. That, you know, but you do you. I'm not saying you're not a bad guy for doing this. Completely fine. Completely up to you. And if your wife is okay with it, mate, fill your boots, no problem. The only reason I don't do it, again, is because I don't want to be a hypocrite. That's all. I hold the girls I'm with to a high standard, so I hold myself to a similar high standard, and that's just what I do. You know, and I say all the time, it's not from a place of like insecurity. As long as the women get that, and if they don't, I leave. You know what I mean? If they try to say, well, you're just insecure, I leave, because that is a small little girl argument. She hasn't grown up yet, right? I say, look, I could go out and pull anytime I want. That's why we're together. is because I went out and pulled you, right? That's why we're together. You didn't do anything. I came over to you. I talked to you. I pulled you, right? So yeah, I could go out and do that whenever I want. I choose not to because I'm in a relationship. That's it. It's about having respect for my partner. And if you can't afford me the same respect, fuck off. Go away. And that's just how I am. You know, but I don't expect anybody to not meet the same standards that I'm meeting. If I'm meeting high standards, you need to meet the same standards. If I'm not meeting those standards, you don't need to either. It's fairness, as far as I'm concerned. But you've got the ideal situation here, my friend, and you're doing well. So, good for you. The way that she sees it, the way that we see it, is that if you're desirable when you're projecting your inner happiness, therefore, I'm happy and with her. That is true. That's all the security people should need. That's another reason why I don't do it, by the way. Is that if I'm with somebody who's making me happy, I'm going out like Teflon. I don't give a shit. So I'm just having fun. And that attracts more people. The more you don't give a shit, and you don't care, if you're speaking to a woman when you're on a night out, and you've already got a girlfriend who you're really happy with, she's going to find you ridiculously attractive. Because not only is she speaking to you, so she already likes you, right? Because she's speaking to you in a bar, but also, you don't give a shit whether she's with you, talking to you or not. And they can sense that. They can sense that lack of desperation. It is like, this guy doesn't give a shit about me, his social standing must be really high. And some of them, even if they know you're with somebody, they'll still try and fuck you. Because it's a status thing, right? Some other woman wants this guy, so he's desirable. I also want this guy, because I want to know that I can pull a desirable guy. It's a very immature way of thinking, but a lot of people think that way. Again, another reason why I don't put myself in this situation to begin with. Anyway, moving on. This is the first of 2 blowouts. The time had passed since the first blowout, and we thought that we had moved on. Mate, I'm going to say, if my wife and kids are in the house and I have a guy acting in a very aggressive way like that, he's fucking done. We're not friends anymore. That's it. He's done. You're not around my wife and kids, dude. No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. To set the scene, a way to play Magic the Gathering as a multiplayer game is a format called Commander. Commander isn't my favourite way to play the game. This isn't a secret, but I fully engage with it. Jim and Tim love Commander. Through experimenting with a homebrew deck, I accidentally made a deck that was too powerful for our table for one night. I mean, it wasn't even close. I became the arch enemy of the table. The last Commander game that we played together and on that night was a full-on 2v1 and lasted for over 2 hours, with Jim taking the win with a very close finish. Again, I won't go into too many details. Let me just, I know the video's going on for quite a long time because the music's stopping. I won't go into too many details, apart from stating that Jim and Tim targeted everything that I played. After realising this early on, I drew and played a hug card. A hug card benefits everybody. At around the 45-minute mark, that would have helped either Jim or Tim, with the game within 2 turns. The game was already stalling badly. Unfortunately, the pattern of removing everything that I played without any thought continued, and they missed the opportunity to win in an explosive and dramatic way. Everybody was so exhausted after the game grinded on for another 75 minutes that no one spoke and went on their way. Wow, yeah, that sounds like a fun game. Again, this is where I perhaps make a mistake. I explain that I didn't enjoy the last game we played, not because I didn't win, not because it was a 2v1, they needed to respond aggressively to what I had built after all, but because I didn't like the table dynamic that my deck created. There were many missed opportunities for cool things that happened in the game. Jim and Tim missed the opportunity of interacting with each other. To me, Commander is a casual format where things should get exciting and wild, and not grind on for a 2-hour game where the players lose the will to live and can't speak at the end of it due to exhaustion. I volunteered to remove my surprisingly strong deck from our games and bring a new one for the next game. What's wrong with that? That's a really good argument. That's fine, yeah, cool. I guess this might be like a competitive player playing against a narrative player in Warhammer. It is, kind of, yeah. We need to talk about a Rule 0 to ensure our expectations were aligned. Tim heard what I was saying and fully agreed, and trying to make for a more fun game next time around. Jim, however, went down the rabbit hole of accusing everybody of being salty because he won, and launched into another tirade of cheating accusations and personal abuse. Okay, here's what's going on. This guy sees a lot of his self-worth in the game he's playing, unfortunately. This is just what's going on. It's just what he does. I'm going to change that. There you go. It's just what he's doing here. He's seeing a lot of his self-worth in the game, unfortunately, and that is where you are, and that sucks. That means that any sort of... If he wins, you all need to accept it and congratulate him, right? And anything less than that, he's going to see his arse. He's going to get really annoyed. Again, it sucks, but, you know, it is what it is. Again, me and Tim were a bit shell-shocked. Again, Tim apologised in case he caused Jim's anger. I tried to re-explain the aforementioned points. However, Jim simply wouldn't acknowledge them. Needless to say, that mine and Jim's friendship is now strained. Tim and Jim's friendship is also quite strained. Me and Tim are perfectly fine, and, after discussing the situation further, are concerned about Jim's mental health. We feel that there is something going on and that he hasn't shared it with us. Something that has caused him to lash out at us. Both mine and Tim's conversation with Jim since the second blowout have been difficult, and we've lost the flow of the good conversation that good friends tend to have. Me and Tim still make Magic, we play Magic the Gathering weekly and haven't played with Jim since. In conclusion, whilst this isn't an exciting or explosive hobby nightmare, it is an understated cautionary tale on how introducing a hobby to your friendship group can be the catalyst for potentially losing long-term friends. We're not going to give up on Jim, especially as he seems to be returning to alcohol and clubbing, but solo. We've supported each other through some hellish times, and I'll be damned if I'm going to lose him to alcohol, depression, or something even worse. And if it turns out that he's just being a knob and our friendship has run its course, then let's give a nod to the time that we had fun and walk away on good terms, just like me and the girl who blew bubbles. Wow, that's a really cool end. I like that. Alright, so, okay. So... You are right. Like, sometimes introducing hobbies to people can lead to shit like this. It can do. But only if they've already got a personality that leads them to go down this rabbit hole, right? I used to have this personality, like, all the time. Like, I'd play 40k, I'd play things that I used to have a persecution personality, where I thought that everybody around me was against me all of the time. It turns out, what I needed to do was move away from my childhood home. That's what I needed to do. And get therapy. Because whilst my family are great and amazing, there were some serious missteps given or taken when I was being brought up and when I was a young kid. And I only got those out of my system and recognised what they are with therapy, right? So that's what it took for me. And, you know, I've had a few people comment who used to play me back in the day at 40k and they play me now, and they're like, dude, you're like a changed person. You're so laid back, and you're just having fun now. Where it was all about winning last time. Well, it was all about winning because I was made to feel worthless in other areas of my life. And so whenever I got into a geek nerd situation with like video games or with board games or with tabletop games like 40k, I needed to win to accrue that self-worth, to claw some of that back. And as soon as I didn't get it, I'd rage out. And if I won and other people said something like what you did, I felt like they were trying to take away the significance of my hard-earned win. And so I would rage out again. I can see where you know, where Jim's coming from here, and that, you know, if he's won a game there and it's taken so long for him to win it, and then you're saying, look, you know, I didn't enjoy that game, blah 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 blah. I can see why he's saying, look, like that's a fucking dickhead move. Like, I won a game and now you're complaining. Like, you know, what's going on there? But I don't know what's been going on before this. If you win every week and the one time Jim wins, you complain, I can see his point there, right? But if that's not happening, you know, if he's just being a dick, if he's just, like, acting out that way, then he's probably lacking self-worth or belief in other areas of his life. And so he puts far more importance on the game than you do, and it's kind of embarrassing. He gets embarrassed about it. I only knew that through therapy. That's when I came to that conclusion, through therapy. That's what was happening. And since then, I've had a lot of fun in the hobby. So what I would do, until this is resolved, do the coffee shop thing again. That was working, right? Or, why don't you go for a few pints? Not every night out needs to lead to a drunken night of debauchery. Why don't you just go out to a pub for a few pints and talk about, here's what you should do, here's what you should do. If you had a following on Twitch, do that too. Start a 3-man podcast. Together. But you chill out, have a few beers in the house, and you talk about life. And all the things you find interesting. You had a following, go and get it back again. Do something like that. Go to a pub instead of a club. Have a few pints. Put the world to rights and then go home. You don't need to go out clubbing every single time you go out. Play the game, dude. There are ways around this that don't involve Magic the Gathering. It's very rare that I come down on the side of the hobby that says don't do the hobby. But maybe this guy needs some time away from the game to come to his own conclusions. That's what I did. And it worked. Alright? Cool. Anyway, I love you a long time. I will speak to you on Monday. I'll see you then. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I may do a stream this weekend. It is Movember, so I'd like to do a charity stream. We'll see how the YouTube upload speed is going. If it's terrible, then I won't bother. Because, you know, upload speeds in my area of the world have been tanked recently because of construction work that's going on and with YouTube's connectability to my local area for some reason. So, we'll see how that goes. I may see you over the weekend, I may not. I love you a long time. I'll speak to you then. Have a good one. Bye now.